Oh my god, my hair looks insane right now. That's fine though. Hello. I haven't recorded a video in a while, and also if the camera's moving, it's because it's windy and I do not have my tripod, so I've got it like very precariously placed, so it might fall over, but whatever. It's a nice day out, sun's out, it's actually pretty warm. So I've been thinking about art a lot and like creativity and the idea that being able to create art or to devote yourself to art is almost a privilege in society. Well, it is a privilege in society to be able to devote your life to that, because nowadays people like struggle to meet ends meet, and you know, you have to work a 9 to 5 to exist, to be able to feed yourself, to be able to have a house. And for people like me who have a really hard time devoting their time to multiple things, I'm really lucky right now that I don't have to pay rent. But if I did, I don't think I would have any time or any mental capacity to be able to devote my life to creating art. And I don't believe that creativity should be bound to the privileged. I feel like some of the best art comes, and like, I know there's like, you know, we should move away from the idea of the starving artist and like, you know, but some of our best work comes from very volatile emotions, and that can also be places where we're suffering. And the fact that people who suffer the most in society often don't have the opportunity to grow their creative talents is so sad. I want to talk about privilege a bit more broadly, in terms of, I'm going to say that I'm less privileged than a white person because I'm brown, and I'm less privileged than a man because I'm female presenting. And when you aren't those things, you don't realize how stifling those things are for people in society, especially today. I remember at a younger age, I grew up Muslim, and I felt like the things that stifled me the most were the religion and the culture that I grew up in and that I was told that I needed to follow. And I thought, these things are really stifling to me because now I can't pursue my music. I can't look the way I want to without getting a lot of backlash. Certain things in my life where I felt like I don't understand why I can't do these things. And I felt very stifled by the culture I was around. And now I find myself being stifled by something else, by something completely different, which is, when I was younger, the things that I didn't feel as stifled by was the fact that I am female presenting, or the fact that I was brown, because I was around so many brown people. I was in school and I felt like I was getting opportunities that other people would get because I was a go-getter. Like I cared about my education, and you know, I wanted to be really good at it, so I kind of always tried and felt like I got something out of it. If you hear hacking in the background, it's the freaking dogs drinking some pond water. Great. I felt very sure of myself in the sense that I could hold up against anybody else, and the fact that I'm brown, the fact that I'm a woman will not affect that. But now that I'm an adult and I find myself actually going out into society and, you know, hearing the conversations people have, hearing the things that people go through, and I realize, oh wow, like these things do matter in society. Like they always have. I was lucky enough to not face the repercussions, or I was naive enough to not feel like that affected me. So now I go about in the world and I think, okay, well, I can't talk about these things because although these things might be really important values to me, or I might find these things really important, I might hesitate more to speak about them. Oh God, it's wobbling so much. I might hesitate to speak about them because I feel like I will face the repercussions of being female presenting, being a brown person. So now my creativity feels stifled for other reasons. I think about, this is such a crazy example. This is such a Gen Z example. So sometimes I'll like see people talking on TikTok about certain topics that I feel like affect me, but I'm almost not the person that's supposed to be speaking about them. And that might seem weird to say, but it's almost if that's like a battle that I can't fight because of my lack of privilege. And there might be certain things that I want to do in my art and certain ways that I want to present in my art which feels like it's barred to the privileged. I feel like being angry at society is something only white people can do without facing repercussions. And that's not to say that white people don't face repercussions for doing, for being activists and creating certain kinds of art. But I'm saying that I feel more danger for doing that as a brown person. Oh, there's a fucking wasp. Big thing. And I feel like I don't know who to tell this to, or like who I can speak to about this that would understand what I mean. Maybe this is very much like a me problem, but like I see nowadays, I hear so many stories about people getting arrested, for no reason at all, and they're people of color, and I hear so many stories about people getting persecuted that are completely innocent people. And I think, well, if I try to speak about the things that matter to me, am I gonna experience the same thing because of it? So I almost feel silenced. I don't know. I have the most freedom I've ever had in my life, I would say. And it still feels like I'm suppressed. It still feels as though there are barriers holding me back from being able to say what I truly want to say. And I guess this is me trying to say that, but still I feel hesitant to kind of talk on the things that matter to me. I have a lot of anger about things. And the way I want to communicate that is through my music. And I feel like anger, because I look like this, that expressing anger in the way that I want to scream when I sing, I want to talk about things that make people feel uncomfortable. Like I want to write lyrics that make people feel uncomfortable and think about things. I feel as though if I do that, people are going to say, oh, that's pretty out there, or oh, don't you think that's a bit too much? Because I'm a woman, and because women, female presenting people aren't supposed to have such strong emotions, or if they have such strong emotions, they're not supposed to express them in certain ways. And I often feel as though I'm making people uncomfortable, especially when I dye my hair, I have these piercings, I tattoo myself, I maybe don't dress how people would expect me to dress. I do these things that I feel like make people feel uncomfortable, and I see other people doing them too. I see people doing them on the internet. I see people doing them sometimes around me, but usually when I see them doing it around me, it's white people or it's men. So I often feel as though I'm really stepping out of a boundary and I'm making people feel uncomfortable when I show up. And maybe that's just me not feeling, maybe that's me feeling like people wouldn't accept me like this. But I also do feel like it's because of what is expected of me. And I'm not really, following those things. Anyone who's done any kind of English study in their lives, my English literature fans, you would know that any kind of art, any kind of creativity isn't in a vacuum. We don't create art in a bubble. The things that we go through, the people that we are, the people that we interact with, the world itself, societies we live in, those are all affecting the art that we create, right? So while I do feel stifled, and while I do feel suppressed, and while I do feel as though it's more difficult for me to express myself, I feel it's very, very pertinent. These dogs are pissing me off. I feel like it's very pertinent, and I think it's very important for people like me to express themselves in the most uncomfortable, and not just uncomfortable to other people, uncomfortable to myself way that I can. Because at the end of the day, I'm representing something in society. I'm representing myself, and even if only I feel this way, that is still something that's going on in society. I'm still affecting society by existing. It's so freaking hot out here. And these dogs are annoying me so bad. You're so annoying. I'm just trying to take a video. I want people like me and people similar to me to be able to say what they want to say. I want people like me to feel like they have a voice, that people care about what they care about, and that things can change. If I have to make myself uncomfortable and put myself in places where I don't feel like I fit to make space, then I'll do it. Because that space needs to exist. And if it doesn't exist yet, I'm gonna make it exist. This is my anger coming out right now. Trying to be a musician, especially as an adult where you don't have the resources you had when you were in school, when you were in university, is fucking hard. Especially when you're someone like me. So I'll go through all the fucking hurdles and do my best to create as much space as I can. Because I know there are a bunch of freaking people out there like me who wish that they could survive on their art, who wish that they could pursue the things that they want, who wish that they had the voice that they need. They want to be heard. I want to be heard. I want to be able to speak. And if the way I need to do that is through my art, through creative processes, then I'm going to do that shit. And it's going to be fucking epic. Creativity should not be bound to the privileged. That's all I got to say.